Kenya's demand for connectivity is massive, making local internet service provision a highly attractive market. But new entrepreneurs consistently misunderstand the physical and financial barriers to actually delivering that access. The most common reason a new ISP fails isn't a lack of customers. It's an operator buying enterprise-grade hardware for a coffee shop business plan. They overbuild. They sink millions into high-capacity telecom gear, complex routing setups, and heavy infrastructure before they have the subscriber base to pay for it. Stop viewing an ISP as one monolithic idea. Instead, map your plan to 3 specific tiers: a local hotspot, a fixed wireless network, or full fiber. Aligning your capital, technical capability, and regulatory readiness to the correct tier prevents early bankruptcy. We will break down the actual hardware requirements, realistic capital expenditures, and the specific Communications Authority of Kenya licensing rules for each level. Identifying your exact tier before spending a single shilling determines whether you build a scalable, profitable business or a catastrophic sunk cost. Tier 1 is the starting line. It's built for high foot traffic locations like student hostels, salons, and matatu stages. The hardware input here is minimal. For under 166,000 shillings, you deploy a core MikroTik router, 2 to 4 access points, a small UPS, and a standard residential internet line to share. The revenue model relies entirely on volume. Users connect to your network, get directed to a captive portal, and buy short-term access, like 30 minutes or a full day, paying directly through M-Pesa. This chart shows how rapid, low-cost transactions accumulate. Selling 50 shilling vouchers daily hits 45,000 shillings monthly, recovering setup costs in 4 months. But without recurring subscriptions, you rely on a constant influx of users for cash flow. However, the regulatory burden is nearly zero. Operators at this scale typically run informally, letting you test the market without a formal KAK license. You trade long-term stability for rapid, low-risk cash flow. It is the ideal sandbox to prove local demand exists before committing serious capital. Tier 2 is where you become a real utility. You transition from selling daily vouchers to providing dedicated, recurring monthly subscriptions for unserved estates. The hardware escalates entirely. You move past indoor access points and start deploying lattice towers, base station sector antennas, subscriber radios, and heavier core routers. This matrix compares the capital reality. Setting up a single base station for 50 homes pushes capital to 1.5 million shillings. To justify this, you need 50 homes paying 2,000 to 5,000 shillings every single month. The friction increases here too. You are now managing complex line-of-sight installations on rooftops and paying monthly rent for your tower sites. The regulatory environment also shifts. Tier 2 mandates formal business registration and securing an application service provider Tier 3 license from the KAK. Because customers rely on you for their primary connection, tower uptime is your entire business. You absolutely need backup solar power and failover upstream connections, like a Starlink dish, ready to go before an outage happens. Tier 2 trades higher capital requirements and regulatory friction for predictable, recurring revenue. Tier 3 is full fiber to the home. For an underfunded newcomer, it is an incredibly dangerous and over-glamorized objective. Before you connect a single customer, you will spend between 2.5 and 15 million shillings on optical line terminals, heavy armored cabling, and physical deployment. The technical complexity scales exponentially. You have to manage intricate GPON profiles, perform precision fusion splicing in the field, and maintain a constant warehouse inventory of spare optical network units. The regulatory barrier is unforgiving. You must secure a network facilities provider license and negotiate trenching permits with local county governments. This matrix shows the final picture. If executed correctly, the massive upfront cost secures true telecom-grade scale, high monthly revenue, and incredibly low customer churn. You gain total market control, but the margins for error vanish. A single delayed county permit or mismanaged hardware order can bankrupt your operation before it gets off the ground. There is an underlying constant across all 3 models. The physical hardware changes drastically, but the administrative burden of running the network is exactly the same whether you have 20 users or 2,000. What actually chokes an ISP to death is manual administration, specifically reconciling payments by hand and calling customers to chase overdue invoices. Centralized billing software, integrated directly with the Duraja M-Pesa API, removes human error from that process. This chart illustrates the efficiency gain. By migrating to API automation, the system takes over. It automatically suspends non-payers and restores service the second a payment clears. Zero manual data entry required. Software automation is mandatory for survival. As an operator, your time must be spent maintaining network uptime, not fighting with spreadsheets. Long-term success is rarely about buying the most advanced equipment. It comes down to an honest self-assessment of the capital and capability you actually have today. Let's look at this decision flowchart to map your specific profile. If you have less than 200,000 shillings and a captive local audience, you start at Tier 1. Use free billing software tiers to prove your location is profitable. If you have 1 million shillings or more and are targeting unserved estates, you map to Tier 2. Put your resources into securing your CAK license and bulletproofing your tower reliability. Do not attempt to buy an optical line terminal or run street fiber unless you have guaranteed high-density demand, deep cache reserves, and a dedicated splicing team. A centralized billing platform will scale with your customer base indefinitely. Overpurchased hardware will just sit in a cabinet and depreciate. Build the network you can actually afford today. Automate your cash flow from day one, and only upgrade your infrastructure when customer demand forces your hand.